Oh boy, guys. Oh, there's so much to talk about. Holy shit. Hey guys, what's up? It's BigJackFilms here, and welcome to a brand new opening night. I do apologize I haven't been able to do these much. The last month or so has been a little stressful. If you saw our statement, I did make a whole clear statement about that. What's been happening on our channel. I should put my glasses on. I do apologize. But I'm here to discuss the latest DC Comics Warner Brothers film, Matt Reeves' The Batman. Now, I should say, this is the first time on my channel that I was actually invited to a special screening of the film. Huge shout out to Savvy Geeks Podcast. I'll put a link to their Instagram and their social media platforms below. They organized the event, and as well as Amethyst Cosplay, which, if you guys have seen some of the videos we've been putting out Batman related, does an amazing Selena Kyle Catwoman cosplay for Batman Returns, along with her doing an incredible Harley Quinn. So I recommend everybody going to check out her Instagram pages and her social media. She's a wonderful talent, first-time actress on screen doing that Batman Returns skit we did, so go check her out. But they invited me to this screening of the film for the Batman down in Toronto, and I did go a little former this time. I was thinking about doing my Keaton cosplay, but it was so heavy and complex that I went for, you know, a Bruce Wayne, billionaire playboy. I kind of always wanted to cosplay Bruce Wayne anyway, so I'm wearing my Bruce Wayne cosplay, which was actually just like a wedding suit I wore at one point. So, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the very highly critically praised and deservingly so Matt Reeves' The Batman. And, okay, I don't want to really say much about this film, but I can just say to everybody right now who have had their concerns, their expectations, their anticipation, their what they think the movie's gonna be, whether it sucks or so on, save your worries, save your imaginations, and go see this movie, because I loved the shit out of this. Like, oh my god, it not only met expectations, it not only suppressed the worries and concerns with this production, it surpassed everything with flying colors. This film is a fucking masterpiece. I love the hell out of it. Every cast member, every frame, this is a fucking good damn movie to see on the big screen. It's a cinematic masterpiece, and it is easily in the top 3 best, or at least the top 5 of Batman's filmography. Like, I'm gonna say it right now, and maybe it's because it's my first impressions, I am going to see this again come hell or high water. There's stuff in this movie that just, I loved it. I loved everything about it, but just first impressions, first thoughts on the Batman. It's better than The Dark Knight. I'm dead fucking serious. Maybe I don't know if I'm a minority on that, but this was surpassed The Dark Knight, like, for multiple reasons, and I'll explain a little bit why. So, what's the plot of Matt Reeves' The Batman? Well, it pretty much has Batman in his first 2 years in operation. It's not an origin story, thank God. It's not his parents getting shot again, thank goodness. It's not all the same shit we've been seeing for the last few years with Batman, which I love. It really, I'll just say this, the first 10 minutes of this movie, the first 20 minutes of this film, the first 10 minutes, I was already hooked right away. I love the production design of Gotham. Gotham, the best Gotham City I've ever seen. It's brewing with crime and dirt and atmosphere. It is a shithole. I love that. I love how it sets everything up. The bat signal. I love the shit out of that bat signal. I love how down to earth it is. The first opening scene is all on Halloween. You see Bruce Wayne has been at this shit as a vigilante. He's not, like, the hero. He doesn't have all the gadgets and stuff. He's just doing it from, like, the grounds and grizzles of Gotham. It reminded me a lot of the opening to 89, where we already see Batman in operation. That scene you see in the trailer where he's fighting all these thugs. Oh, it's fantastic. It's brutal. This guy has been really making a name for himself in Gotham. Like, there's a scene where he's in this Times Square area when he's looking, like, it takes place Halloween night, the opening. So this is very much, it's kind of like the Long Halloween, the comic, and you see Bruce in a hoodie and shit, and he's just kind of going through all the scum, and he's narrating and saying, you know, Gotham shit. You know, it's really cool, and then he comes out of the cot, like, his first appearance, he doesn't do the cape thing, but he just comes out of the shadows. Like, they nailed this character so well, but I'll get to that in a sec. So, he's been operating crime and, you know, taking care of business because the cops and all of Gotham is too corrupt. Until the arrival of the mysterious, almost Zodiac killer, sort of Jigsaw-esque villain, the Riddler. And this is the first time we have seen the Riddler in almost, I think, about 26, 27 years since Batman Forever with Jim Carrey. Like, it's been that long, guys. And obviously, Commissioner Gordon and not really the cops. The cops don't like Batman at all. But Commissioner Gordon is pretty much bringing Batman to the case to see why the Riddler is causing these murders, and it's all like a bunch of storylines and real detective work and investigations that lead to things like the Penguin, Catwoman, the Mafia, the crime lords of Gotham, a lot of stuff involving Bruce Wayne and Batman. And again, I don't want to tell too much about this film because this is a real triumph. This is the real Batman triumphant, because I was surprised how well this got the comics. This got the entirety of Batman perfectly. I think for a lot of us, like, the definitive Batmans are things like The Dark Knight or the Tim Burton films, or, you know, even Ben Affleck in a lot of the Dark Knight Returns elements. Like, everybody has their definitive Batman. For me, it has always been the Burton films, some elements of the Dark Knight, and most notably, Batman the Animated Series. I used to watch that cartoon all the time. I have all 4 seasons. I love Mask of the Phantasm. That's one of the best ones. And this movie felt like a live-action adaptation of Batman the Animated Series, from its visual design, its characters, its the way all of Gotham works, its structure, its themes, the way they get Batman down, and the music. Oh my god, the music by Michael Giacchino. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it. I can never pronounce this poor man's name, but this guy is getting a lot of work, and this is probably one of his best pieces of film score, because it's going back to the classic Batman feel of the Burton films, and a lot of Shirley Walker in this score, which I liked. It's a mix of Shirley Walker, a little bit of Saw, and a little bit of Seven is all thrown in this. There's just so much I love about this movie. You know what? A lot of people had their issues with Robert Pattinson being casted. They thought it was a joke. They thought it was stupid. I mean, even I was like, really? Now you're just pissing us off? But Robert's got this down. This is also the first Batman movie where it's mostly Batman-centered. He is in the costume more than he is Bruce Wayne, and most times it's the other way around. You're just begging for the Batman shit to show up. You know, Batman does this cool thing in all the openings of these movies, and then he's in, like, maybe about 15 minutes of Bruce Wayne, and then back to Batman, and that's been the formula. But this one, he is like Batman about 75% of the whole film, and the other 25, he's Bruce Wayne. But even as Bruce Wayne, like, a lot of people complained about that. Like, oh, there's not enough Bruce Wayne. There's not enough to give him character. And I like what they did with Bruce here, is that, yeah, he's a billionaire playboy, but he doesn't come out most of the public. He mostly stays inside. And the idea is that he's been so traumatized by the death of his parents that he doesn't want to socialize at all. And when he does, he's big news. Like, even politicians are leeching onto him, begging for his money, that he's just so silent about. He's silent, he's pale, this poor fuck never sleeps. He's always waging his war on crime. He's always in his Batcave, which is underneath a subway system, I think, by the way, which is really cool. So now I'm like, is he going to be hanging out with the Ninja Turtles and getting pizza? I mean, they did cross over, but, like, you know what I mean? So, you know, you just see all that. You see all the tech he works on. You see him, I realize this too, I mean, like, he's building vehicles and shit. Like, there's just so much going on with this character, and Robert got it right. He nailed it down. He got the detective work, the silence, the darkness, the feeling, the emotions that he's trying so hard to fight and get away from to evade making any poor decisions. His posture, the costume looks great. Like, it's practical. It feels real. It feels like this is something a guy would strap on to go fight crime. But one thing I do like, too, they balance this all out. Even the fear aspects, which the movies have been depriving, the other thing they got down really damn well was, by the end of it, he's a hero. He is a guy that, despite beating up muggers, despite being a dark, brooding vigilante, he still, at the end, picks people up and helps them as a part of the community. And it balances it checks marks everything Batman needs to be. And Robert did it great. There's, things like Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman, really well done. Like, they got the cat burglar down, they got the sassiness down, they got the smart intelligence down, they even got the music down. The music the Catwoman theme reminds me a lot of the Michelle Pfeiffer theme from Batman Returns, which is great. That's another positive. And I like she's a cat lady. I like that she can hold her own. I like the fact even with Batman, when they work together, she goes undercover and uses his tech and, does all this shit to get information. Like, they nailed that character down. This is one of the best, I think, personally, one of my favorite renditions of Catwoman. I love Michelle Pfeiffer, and I really like Anne Hathaway, was more I always felt like, Michelle Pfeiffer was more psychotic and more just, crazy cat. Anne Hathaway was closer to the comics where she was a cat burglar, but this one was the perfect balance of not an all there running astray little cat, and also a cat burglar. They got that all down perfectly. Like, their chemistry with him and Bruce is really good. Her chemistry with her and Batman, that stuff's fantastic. And I love that shit. And then you have, Commissioner Gordon's great in this. He plays a huge part in a lot of Batman Year One in this one, which I really liked. And then, okay, we need to talk about the villains. Colin Firth as the Penguin is fucking phenomenal. I had my worries, and then when I heard the critical praise saying he was great, I was like, there's no way, because he doesn't look like the Penguin. For me, the Penguin was the top hat, the umbrella, like, all that shit, even Batman Returns, and I love Danny DeVito to death. I love Danny DeVito as the Penguin. That is the Penguin to me. But Colin Firth comes in at a pretty close second. He is the mobster penguin, the gangster penguin, the sleazy penguin. This is more in line with the comics. I love the shit out of his nightclub. I love how he runs that underground near Gotham, more in, sort of the coast areas. Like, that shit's fantastic. All the stuff in that nightclub is great. The fight, Batman's beating up muggers in there. Oh, it's great. He's like, take it easy, sweetheart. And that's my only complaint is I wish he at least once quacked, where he's like, when that scene, he's like, take it easy, sweetheart. He's like, take it easy, sweetheart. Just a little. He was kind of channeling it, but not enough where it was like the full Penguin package. Although there's one scene that I love, and most people miss it, and it's a little visual gag, is where he's cuffed up, Batman and Gordon leave, and they leave him behind, and he's waddling like a penguin. And I'm like, okay. That was great. The makeup was fantastic. Like, when I first saw it, I was like, that doesn't look like the Penguin. That just looks like a fat mobster dude. But when you look at it closer with the scars kind of coming in, the scars and lines almost come in with his nose and his mouth, and it's sort of presenting sort of this bird beak, attributes in his face. And now I'm like, now I see why people would probably call him the Penguin. And again, he's so good in this as Oswald Cobblepot and the Penguin. And, I need to talk about that Batmobile chase scene. What a great scene! And what I love is that they've been subtly building it up. Because throughout the movie, you look in the Batcave, and you can tell he's been slowly over time really modding this fucking car to be essentially the first Batmobile. And what's great about this, when they first introduced that damn thing, and it's revving up, and it's chasing through the highways, and it all feels practical and real. It's very Terminator 2 Judgment Day chase scene levels of budget. Like, it looks like they spent more than what they've been saying, because sometimes it feels low budget, and sometimes it feels like a huge $200 million. I think they might have spent a little more, which props to them. But, that Batmobile chase, man, I was screaming in that theater. I was like, now that's a fucking Batmobile. That is a cool-ass fucking car. I turned to my friend, I said, I want that fucking car. That was great. I've been so sick and tired of the Batmobile being this turtle tank piece of shit. It's like, I'm done with it being a militarized thing. Make it a fucking car. And that's what this was. The Batmobile was a car, and a kick-ass car. Is it a 89 Batmobile? No, that will still be the definitive one, but it had a lot of makings of, it reminded me a lot more of the 60s Batmobile, but in a way where it looks like it could fit today and not feel like a goofy, wacky thing of the 60s. Like, this was a cool fucking Batmobile. I think this is probably one of my favorites next to the Burton Batmobile and the Batman Forever Batmobile. This is pretty much a close second. This is a kick-ass fucking car. If I ever see this at a con, I want to jump in that car. That's, to me, that was the Batmobile, and it was a glorious Batmobile. Like, that chase scene is fantastic, with the Penguin and all that, just wonderful. Wonderful. And then we have the Riddler. Yes, the Riddler, after 27 years, is finally back. It's not... This is complicated, because he's not the previous incarnations. It's really unfair to make that comparison, so I'm just going to drop that. He's not the previous incarnations. He's not Jim Carrey. He's not Frank Gorsha. He's not Sean Astin's dad. Yes, look that up. He's not the cartoon. He's not the comics. He is a complete new reinvention of this character. And for this piece in this modern time of how this is how the Riddler would be, it kind of works. And the best part is, it's not the Joker again. That's the only problem with some of these villains, is that they always end up being the Joker. And this one stands on his own, and they really brought us a brand new version of the Riddler. He is like Jigsaw, a serial killer, but if he left clues of his victims, and it's fan-frickin-tastic. There are scenes in this movie where the Riddler is terrifying. It is... One thing I loved about this movie, this is not only a detective story, which, you know, this could be labeled as the best film to show Batman as the world's greatest detective. You know, he is an investigator. He is there on the crime scene as a, privateer, you know? Like a guy who's actually going to solve this mystery. And it's a mystery. That's another thing. It's a mystery movie. It's a big crime detective story, but it's also a horror film. Like, this is a scary fucking movie, because the Riddler in this is... There are some scenes... There's a scene right out of Saw. I can't say what it is, but when you see it, you're like, this is total Jigsaw vibes. And it's glorious. It takes it to a modern-day setting, and it works wonders. And by the end of it, you're just exhilarated by what this one fucker could do to Gotham City and everybody involved. So, the Riddler, it's a new innovation. They didn't just do the same thing, and it works so well. I am very happy with this Riddler. I wouldn't be surprised if this incarnation starts much more appearing in the comics, because as much as I love Jim Carrey, as much as I love the comics and the cartoons of the Riddler, this is a nice new innovation that really worked in its favor. So kudos to the Riddler in this. He's really good, and he's used very sparingly, even though he's the mastermind behind everything. He's used sparingly. He's not too much there like they were trying to do with the Joker. It's there when it needs to be. So, what else is there to say? Like, there's just so much that goes on. The music is total Shirley Walker from Batman the Animated Series, and I loved it. Michael Giacchino's so good at that. The direction's great. It was... If I'm gonna be a little bit picky about the Batman, is that most people say, oh, it's too long. I was feeling that a little bit. There was a moment in this movie before the climax of the film happened where I needed to piss. And I just took a quick little bathroom break and came back. And I kind of figured out what was going on. It wasn't too foreign. And it's complicated because the thing is there's so much intricate dialogue and plot points happening all throughout the film. There's not a minute's break for it, much like we are with Batman. We're as exhausted as he is. But if you can find the crack where you can go take a piss and not miss anything, you'll be okay. So I do think it is a tad too long, but it does bring me to my second complaint. This is a real hardcore PG-13, and I fucking love it. In fact, they do drop the F-bomb, and I'm like, yes, let's go. Batman's the only one you can do, like, hard R dark shit. Great. But the only things I've realized they kind of cut out, I think, essentially, was most of the gruesome violence and blood and gore, if there was any originally. I've been hearing rumors about potential Blu-ray that's going to restore it to the R-rated cut, but it's kind of cool to see a Batman movie pushing, like, a hard PG-13 since the likes of Batman Returns. And the problem is that parents groups are already getting pissed off saying it's too dark. And I'm like, fuck off. You tried this shit with Batman Returns and it didn't work. This one was like, yeah, we don't care what you say. We're still gonna sell Legos to your kids and make them go see a hard R Batman movie. And I'm like, it's great. So that's another complaint. Like, just the response has been a little bullshit, but I don't care. Oh, but there's two bits. If I'm gonna be picky, if there's two bits in Batman's costume that I'm kind of like, one's unrealistic and one is real enough to make one thing irrelevant. Batman's contact lenses that he uses to record everything, while a cool idea, the technology isn't there yet to where it would be presentable in this world, or maybe it is. Perhaps Lucius Fox, wherever he may be, designed these contact lenses for Bruce, so maybe that's the case. I don't know, honestly. But it did take away a little bit of the realism of the situation with the film, and that was my only part. I'm like, eh. But the other part of the suit I was kind of picky about was the glider, was the whole parachute gliding thing. Because the fact that it inflates on him and he jumps out a window and he can fly with the glider like most sports guys do is cool and all. I understand why they did it. But the problem was, it contradicts the entire reason for the cape. Batman's cape is Batman's whole suit is really cool. I love the cape in this. It's not too long, it's not too short, it's perfectly balanced. But doing that jump scene with the parachute was the only time I'm like, you've pretty much defected and retconned the entire purpose of the cape. And that was my only gripe. Although, some of the areas of the cape, when it's swinging around, shit look cool. In fact, there's one scene that I loved, where Batman crashes an event, and he goes through the glass ceiling. And it's a total nod to the original 90s Batman movies, because every one of them, he crashed through a ceiling with his wings out, and he does that here, and it's great to see that again, to see that concept. I don't count Batman v Superman when he goes through, because that's a window, it has to be a roof, a sunroof, where they crash down, and they got that part right, and it's great. So that's another one. Oh, Andy Serkis is Alfred, I forgot to mention. When he was first cast, I thought he was going to be the Man-Bat, because motion capture, but he is surprisingly a good Alfred in this. There's a moment in the film, I won't say where, that this movie's really emotional. It made me scared, it got me on the edge of my seat, it made me, like, really cheer out loud. I haven't felt like this in a movie in a long time. And it also brought some tears. I was getting a little stuffy with some of the scenes with Alfred and Bruce. Again, I won't say what happens, but it is a very emotional piece. And, they don't necessarily call her it, but Aunt Harriet's back. Aunt Harriet, the aunt from the 60s TV show. There's a little old maiden who helps Bruce and Alfred with some stuff in Wayne Manor, and it's so Aunt Harriet from 1960s Batman, which I love. So there's just so much to love about this. Again, I don't want to give too much away. There's a lot of twists and turns, a lot of things you don't see coming. There's even some moments by the end where you're either going to be like, we're doing this again, and then you're like, well, take your time on it, don't rush into it because the studio told you to, and focus on just the other villains and other characters. Don't focus on certain characters we've done a billion times, and it's very subtle, it's very in the shadows, we don't know what's going on, but overall, The Batman is a masterpiece. I recommend everybody to see it. Full price, IMAX 3D, dome theater, whatever you can. Go see this film. This is great. I want more. I've been hearing rumors that the next candidate villain is Mr. Freeze, and I want Bryan Cranston to play that. Basically Walter White, but in a snowsuit. Would be great. And also, I want Robin. It's time for Robin, because we've had 25 years without Robin. Batman's always been solo. Let's get Robin in there somehow. So, I don't know. It's just that I want. I want more of this Batman and this Batman world with Gotham. It really delivered with flying colors, exceeded and surpassed expectations. This is a masterpiece. Matt Reeves, after the last 3 Planet of the Apes films, has had a huge success with his filmmaking skills. And he applies it all to the Batman and then some. And I would recommend this. This is a 10 out of 10. This is one of the best Batman's movies ever made. This is a little better than Dark Knight. I do stand by that decision. This movie's fucking awesome. This movie's a masterpiece. Just go see it. That's all I can say. So, for those who haven't seen the Batman, or have seen it, let me know your thoughts on it in the comments. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you like the cast? Did you like the tone? Did you like the story? Let me know, because I want to see more of this. Way more than the Batfleck stuff. Way more. You know what? I'm going to be honest. It's going to be very tough for the Flash movie to compete with this, because that's Batman 3 to me, Tim Burton with Michael Keaton returning. It's going to be very hard to top this. I don't want this to be a part of a cinematic universe either. This is what I love about it. We can still have the DC universe stuff with all the superheroes teaming up, but we can still have Batman movies that are made separately from the continuity, where people can just go see a new Batman movie. And that's what I love the formula Warner Brothers has been doing with this. So, let me know your thoughts. I had a blast. I love to do more screenings of this. Again, a huge thank you to Savvy Geeks Podcast and Amethyst Cosplay for inviting us down for this event. This is the first time we've actually been invited to a screening of the film. Not essentially as critics, but just in general. I would love to do more of these, so, you know, anybody in Toronto screening a movie, hit me up. I'll come down, I'll come check it out, and I'll do a review on it. Like, this was a really good time for me. Got to meet some great cosplayers. I actually bumped into my old pal, Toronto Batman. Go check out his stuff. This was a fun time. I want to do more of this, especially now that spring's heading up. Like, just go see this movie, guys. So, until the next video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys later. This is BigJackFilms signing off. Just go see the Batman, guys. Like, this was a damn good film. And I'm going to be seeing it again. I want to see it in IMAX, but just don't even listen to me. Shut up and go see the fucking movie. I'll see you guys later. Take it easy. I'm Batman.